Welcome to Sir Lancelot's Real Estate Roundtable, your guide to mastering the realm of real estate in Central East Florida. I am Sir Lancelot Lenard, ready to uncover the secrets of seller strategies, home staging, mortgage mastery, and more. From Daytona Beach to Cocoa Beach, Lake County to St. Augustine, join me as we navigate the intricacies of real estate. As the leader of the Sir Lancelot Group at Florida Homes Realty and Mortgage, I'm here to arm you with knowledge and innovation, whether you're a seasoned homeowner or a first-time buyer, unveiling the kingdom of real estate, one roundtable at a time. Today's guest has built a real estate empire from one of the most misunderstood yet most profitable corners of the market. He's not chasing shiny object. He's mastering the art of cash flow and teaching thousands to do the same. Kevin Bupp is the founder and CEO of Sunrise Capital Investors, the #1 bestselling author of The Cash Flow Investor, and the voice behind one of the hottest shows on iTunes, the Real Estate Investing for Cash Flow podcast. With over 16 years in the trenches, Kevin has cracked the code on mobile home park investing, parking lots, apartments, and more, generating above average returns and true financial freedom. But Kevin's story isn't just about money. It's about building communities, impacting lives, and giving back on a massive scale. From creating running clubs that span thousands to cycling 280 miles from charity, he's raised over $1 million to change lives in Southwest Florida. Buckle up because we're about to uncover how you can create freedom, cash flow, and a legacy straight from the man who's done it all. Kevin, welcome to the Real Estate Roundtable. I'm excited to dig into this.
Hey, Lancelot, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to be here. And I think that some of that intro might be a little outdated. I've been at this now. I'm aging myself, but I've been at this 25 years now. I think
25. Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, I know. But I shouldn't even say that because that just makes me older, right?
It's a big achievement at 16 years into the business. 25, you probably accomplished a lot more than that.
I've seen a little bit, and now I can say I've actually been through 2 cycles, which is, again, just aging me even more as I continue digging myself in a ditch here. But yeah, I've seen quite a bit.
So before the best-selling book, before the national portfolio, before Mobile Home Park Academy, what did life look like for you? How did your real estate journey really begin?
Yeah, no, backing it up to my younger days, I got started at an early age. I was luckily introduced somewhat by accident into real estate investment at the age of 19. Met a gentleman local to me in Pennsylvania where I was growing up, and he was a local real estate investor, and which was very different than what I knew growing up. Both my parents, we didn't have a lot, but we didn't go without. Both my parents worked. Very much a middle of the road, a blue collar family upbringing where we went on one vacation a year. Normally it was a driving vacation. We weren't really wealthy enough to take airplanes and go on those types of trips. And so it was whatever was in driving distance, we'd go for a week and have a good time together. But again, my parents both worked. Neither one had a college education. College wasn't really pushed on me. I did go to community college for a couple of years, but ultimately it wasn't infused in me at a younger age that I needed to get an education. But the one thing I did have at a younger age was I was always entrepreneurial. I always kind of wanted to buy like the latest and greatest, whether it was a BMX bike or sports equipment or dirt bike. And so at a young age, I had a work ethic that has really stuck with me to this present day, and shoveling snow, mowing grass, installing car stereos. And my brother was a little older than I. He had friends that were driving, and so he learned how to install car stereos in their vehicles. Had a paper out at age of 12. And it just basically was always making money one way or another, always trying to do a side hustle. And I think that really is what really helped me through my entrepreneurial journey at a younger age. So I met David, who was a real estate investor. He introduced me to the niche, and my eyes opened up. It was at that point in my life, I didn't know what I wanted to do. You'd mentioned you've been a bartender. In Pennsylvania, you only have to be 18 to bartend. So you graduate high school, went to community college, and got a pretty awesome job tending bar at one of the hottest microbreweries in town. And had a lot of fun there, met a lot of friends, made a lot of money, but just wanted something more. I knew there was more to it, and I just didn't know what that was. And luckily, real estate came into my life. And so at the age of 20, I bought my first property. And just really following David's lead, I went to work for him for about a year for free just so I could learn the business. And that first property at the age of 20 was what really kicked it off. I bought that first property with some bartending money I'd saved up. A private lender had helped fund the deal for me, and bought the second, bought the third, bought the fourth. And fast forward about 5 years, I hit a stride and I ended up acquiring, had built a portfolio of about 125 single family homes, a few hundred apartment doors, and things were going great. And this is down in Florida. I moved down to Florida in 2002, and this is on the West Coast here, as we were talking about, in the Tampa Bay area. And as we all probably, maybe we didn't live through it, but we all have heard about it. The great crash of 2008, the great financial crisis. I was here in Florida when that happened. All my real estate here in Florida when that happened, and it was an absolute disaster when it happened. And so that was the beginning stages of it. That was, I call that the first phase of my real estate journey. Had a really fast growth period in my 20s, lost it all, and then had to start over again. And the start over part is really what brings us up till today. I started over with mobile home parks. Have now been buying them for over 15 years now, and have grown quite a big portfolio out of it, and a very successful business, and a great team behind me. And so it's been a fun ride. I've seen a lot along the way. Now in our second cycle, our down cycle, and I've learned a lot. And again, made a lot of mistakes, learned a lot from those mistakes, and but really every day's a new day, and just had a blast doing it. So.
So was there a particular moment or deal when you realized mobile home park investing was going to be the lane you want to
Yeah.
go in?
Yeah, so '08 happened. I lost everything, literally my personal residence, had bank accounts garnished. It was a rough time. And I took a couple year hiatus of buying real estate just because I was more in managing, trying to manage the chaos and the fallout, and didn't really have time to think about anything else other than damage control. But in around 2010, 2011, I really started to get the itch again. I really felt as though I wanted to get back out and start buying again. I knew there were some opportunities out there, still a lot of distress in the marketplace back then. And honestly, I thought, Lancelot, I thought that I was going to rebuild by buying apartment complexes. What I did is I looked back at what I had done the first time around, tried to identify any mistakes or inefficiencies in my business model, and then just really commit to not making those same mistakes again. And the one thing that I identified is that there was a lot of inefficiencies with my single family portfolio. It was spread amongst 5 counties. There was inefficiencies with the maintenance of those units, having maintenance guys run from place to place. With the leasing agents back then, this is before virtual leasing existed, virtual lock boxes and virtual tours. Whenever there was a showing, I had a leasing agent that would go meet a prospective resident at the home, and that would happen multiple times a day in multiple counties. And so there was lots of costs and lots of waste associated with that business model. Whereas the apartment units that I owned, I had about 300 apartment doors, and those efficiencies didn't exist because I would have 40, 50, 60 units underneath one roof or on one parcel of land, to where there was lots of consistency with the type of paint we use, the type of material we use. We had surplus there on site. A lot of these units had one dedicated maintenance guy that was there on site. He didn't have to drive around and travel from property to property. And so I just saw that was a better way to to rebuild a larger scale portfolio, something that was what I deemed to be more sustainable. And so on the second go around, I thought it was going to be apartments. I honestly was committed to apartments. But during, I was out on this exploratory mission trying to meet as many people as possible that were in what I felt was this new landscape of real estate. 2011 looked very different than what 2007 did. And during that exploratory journey, I met a guy by the name of Randy. Had been a banker, a commercial banker for his entire adult life, and had recently retired here in Florida. And Randy happened to own 2 mobile home parks. He bought them as part of his retirement. And I was introduced to Randy by a good friend, not because he owned mobile home parks, just because Randy was a smart guy, and my buddy thought I would get along with him and we would have a good conversation. So I met Randy for lunch one day with no intent other than just meet someone new and make a friend. And after that 2 hour lunch meeting, he told me all the great things about mobile home parks and why this is an asset class I should consider. And I was so intrigued by the points he made, that I left there and I committed to go buy one. And I did that. It took me about a year, but I bought that first mobile home park about a year later. And the first one went well. Thought if I could just replicate this again, this would be great. If I could do it a third time, a fourth time, a fifth time. And now, fast forward, we've transacted about $500 million worth of mobile home parks now over the
Oh,
last
wow.
decade or so. I currently hold a portfolio of about 350 million, and it's been a fun ride. What we used to buy back then looks very different than what we buy today, and our portfolio looks very different today than what it did back then. But the business model is still the same. The fundamentals are still the same. And the reason why I love the asset class is still very much the same. So it's a great affordable housing option for folks that are looking for a clean, safe, and quiet place to live at a very affordable and attainable price. And not what's ended up happening now over the last decade plus is that homes have become unaffordable for the average person. Literally can't afford a single family home. They can't afford to go buy a home. And so we're the last frontier. The product that we offer, typically we're in really good markets and good school districts, and it happens to be the most affordable housing option in that respective area. And so we feel like we serve what is a big void in the housing stock, and we allow folks that had the dream of owning a home, that now that dream was crushed because homes are too expensive. They can now re-engage that dream and ultimately find a home in one of our communities. So it's been a beautiful thing.
I can attest to that. I'm pretty sure you follow bigger podcasts and other avenues too. And Brandon Turner, since he's been pushing these mobile home parks on his podcast, it's been on fire. I don't even know how you find the deals anymore in that sphere. But next question is, mobile home parks aren't exactly the sexy headline grabbing real estate play, but you saw potential, others missed. Can you share one deal or story that really proved to you this model works?
Yeah, I'll just speak to the first one we did, and we've had many others as well that have been just home runs or just great investments. But the first one's a kind of a fun story, and it's a unique story. And I can't say that I've ever had the same situation occur again. But this very first park that we bought was in Atlanta, and again, 2011, everything was still very distressed. There were still lots of foreclosures and REOs in the marketplace, and we definitely were not yet in a recovery. We might have been working towards that, but there was still a lot of just a lot of vacant housing stock on the marketplace. And I didn't have a lot of money at that point. Again, I truly did. I lost my personal residence. All my credit got shut off. All my credit cards shut me down. So when I historically had hundreds of thousands of dollars a line of credit available to me at any given time, that went poof, and credit score is down the tubes. And so I was not a really lendable individual, and but I had a desire to try to get back in and take the little bit of money I had and actually put it to work. And this was my opportunity to turn this. I had about 70 grand to my name to turn it into, to basically rebuild phase two. If I lost it, then it would be really game over. I didn't have a job. I don't even think I'm an employee. I'm not really employable. I don't have a 4-year college degree, and I've never known anything other than work for myself. I had to make this work. So I went and bought with a partner, found this property up in Atlanta. It was completely vacant. It was a 34 space mobile home park. Had mobile homes in it, but they were all vacant. It was an REO, had been sitting there vacant for 2 years. The special servicing company or the servicer hadn't done a good job of managing the property over the 2 years that it was sitting there as a REO. And when we came into the equation, we looked at it, we negotiated the price, felt confident in the market, felt confident that we could go in and renovate all these units and sell them. It would take some time, it'd be a heavy lift. And really, the last thing that we wanted to do was go in and get support from the local count, the community that it was located in. And so
Mm-hmm.
it just happened to be across the street from the mayor's office. So the mayor and the chief of police, and this, it was in the Atlanta MSA, but it was in a little sub market called Lovejoy. And so they had their little, it was a little incorporated town. And so they had their own mayor, they had their own chief of police and county staff. And so they had to drive past this thing every day. It literally was on the same road, caddy corner to this mobile home park. And the mobile home park was rough. It had been run down for a number of years. And so we went in with this grand plan, made a meeting with the mayor to sit down with him. My partner and I walked in and had this whole pitch of like how we were going to offer him this grand vision of all these positive changes we are going to make in this community, and we are going to make it something that him and his team would be proud of. And I went and sat down. I looked around the wall first off, and there was a stuffed fox on the wall. There was a rifle hanging. It was kind of odd decorations, and he had his entire staff join. So the staff was in there first. There was like 9 people in there. Chief of police was one of them, zoning officer, and a few other people. But the mayor wasn't in there yet. And he comes walking in, and he's a 6'4" bald headed guy with a handlebar mustache, probably
Ah,
weighed 270 pounds, very intimidating stature. And he introduced himself. He sat down. He said, "Go ahead, boys." And we gave him our pitch, told him how great we were going to make this community. We wanted to support their local community and make it something that they would be proud of. He let me talk for 10 minutes. And then he basically said, "You guys are wasting your time. I appreciate you coming in here. I've made it my dying wish to shut down that mobile home park. It's been a sore eye, a sore part of our community for many years, and I've basically made a vow to myself and the rest of the staff here that I would stop at nothing to make sure that thing gets shut down and never reopens again."
wow.
And so he said, "I would suggest you take your money, great plans, but take your money and why don't you go institute that plan in some other locale, not here, not in the city of Lovejoy." And so that was a blow to the gut. We thanked him for his time, walked out of there, and again, the money that we were about to invest in this it had to work. It had to work. There was no plan B, and so we still felt as though it was a good idea that if we just did what we say we're going to do, and we improved this property and truly breathed this fresh life of new air or air of life into this thing, that he would be proud, that the community would be proud, and that we'd make it something that was respectful. And we did that. We never heard from him. It was interesting. We expected calls, we expected threats. That didn't occur. We did our thing. We went in there, cleaned it up, spent a bunch of money making it nice, filling it up with nice folks that wanted a clean, safe, and quiet place to live. And I got a call from the mayor a year later, unexpected. Didn't have his phone number saved in my phone, didn't have his contact. And so I picked up the phone, and He said, "Mr. Bupp, this is Mayor Bobby Cartwright. And I just want to take a moment to apologize to you for how I treated you and your business partner a year ago. I was under the impression that mobile home parks were the problem. What you've proven to me is that is not the case. In fact, we've got some great residents that live across the street in that community. I'm very proud every day I drive past it. And funny enough, one of our staff members actually lives in your community. And so thank you for what you've done. Thank you for what you've done. Appreciate your efforts. And
Awesome.
that's it. And so I have actually put that on a letterhead for me. I had him put it in writing so that we could use it for other communities that we ultimately went and bought parks. Sometimes we had pushback like this. We had
Yeah.
friction and we had to overcome it. And so he became really an ally of ours. And but we turned that park around in a year, got it stabilized. It started making a ton of cash flow. We refinanced it, I think about 2.5 years and got all of our original money back out of it and then some. And it still cash flowed 6 figures a year after debt service, after everything. And so that first park was really, this works. I'm going to go try to replicate this again. And we did. Within about a year, we bought the second park and then the third park and then the fourth. But that first one was really that set the foundation and made me a believer in this asset class and that there was a lot of opportunity here. It was going to take a little bit of work, a little bit of TLC, a little bit of love. But there was a lot of money to be made in this asset class.
What's your process for spotting opportunities in markets where others just see challenges?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a special sauce. We've been in it so long that we've built such a reputation. We're known as individuals that when we find a deal, like we close. We don't mess around. We don't retrade. We won't drag you through the coals. We get it done. We are efficient. We got a great team behind us. And so track record goes a long way. A lot of deals just come to us and a lot of them come from brokers. They might be off market deals, but they're sourced through a broker. And that broker, all they want is to get their commission. They have a potential seller. They want to find a buyer that's going to get the deal done and not mess around. And whereas years past, we used to actually do all of our own hunting. We would spend hours every day. We had a team that would dial mobile home park owners, and we bought a lot of properties that way, direct to owner. But what we have found over the last probably 5 years is it's reverted. It's reverted more to folks bringing us deals and us not necessarily having to pound the payment. They're really pounding the payment on our behalf, knowing that we're going to get the deal done. If they bring us the right park in the right market at a fair price, that we're going to close a deal and we're not going to mess around and they're going to get paid and everyone's going to everyone's going to be happy at the end of the day.
I guess that comes with size. As you grow and grow, and your name gets out
Well, and
there.
I mean, you're a real estate
Reputation.
agent as well, and so
Yeah.
really, you want to help people buy and sell homes, but really, at the end of the day, you're not doing for free, right? There's a transactional fee that you get paid as a reward for your efforts, and so you want to make sure that you don't waste your time with deadbeat buyers that
Oh, for sure.
don't have a chance in the hell of getting financing or closing the deal, or going to mess around and drag their feet. Same thing with a seller, right? And if you can marry those two together, you get paid for being that connector, I guess you could say. And so they
Yeah.
know that we're a good piece of that puzzle, that we'll get it done. We won't mess around and we'll get it done.
It's always good to have that affirmation that you're going to close a deal. At some point, you went from investor to leader of a national portfolio with Sunrise Capital Investors. What was the tipping point that made you scale up?
Yeah, I think it was always the plan. And it's not a plan just to scale per se, but really my objective has always been to build a company that is sustainable, meaning that we have enough top line revenue that we can afford to hire the talented folks that are necessary to grow a
Mhm.
large, sustainable organization. And there's a pivotal moment where, like, when you buy your first property, like you do everything, you wear all the hats, right? Like we might
Yeah.
have subbed out construction and renovation, HVAC, and things like that, but outside of that, I'm doing the books. I'm finding the deals. I'm doing the books. I'm lining up the financing. I'm running the maintenance crews. We're doing everything. Like we're handling tenant ledgers. We're depositing rents into the bank account. We're balancing the books at the end of the month. We're doing everything. And so slowly but surely, as you grow and buy the next property, you create more top line revenue, thus allowing you to actually start hiring additional staff to help take those more admin tasks off your plate and let you focus on what you're really good at. And so it's always been I'm a deal guy. I love finding deals. I love that. That's me. If you ask me what I enjoy most in the company, like that is it. I love finding great opportunities that have a lot of meat on the bone and basically outlining the business plan of how we're going to actually get the meat off the bone. And so I've done everything within the organization, but I knew in order to get to the point to where, like, that was my sole focus, I need to hire a lot of other folks with unique talents that could help take all those other things off my plate. But you got to be of a certain size to do that. You have to have certain revenue in order to have a certain amount of payroll on your books. And so slowly but surely, we hired critical staff members as we continue to grow. And really, over the past 5 years has been the biggest pivotal moment where I would say that my partner or myself, either one of us, could walk away for weeks or maybe in a month at a time and knowing that when we come back, the company is going to be probably in a better position than when we left. And that's a pretty incredible thing and a special moment because really we're entrepreneurs. At least for me, it's important to you can't add more hours to the day. You can't create more hours in the day. And so for my objective was always to buy back my time, buy back flexibility in my lifestyle so that I could spend more time with my family. I've got young boys and I really want to create moments with them. And you can't do that if you're working 16, 17, 18 hours a day. You can't be present. You can't create the special memories because you're tired as hell. You're burnt out, right? Like you become a slave to your business. And so you got to like almost purposely push fat past a certain growth period, knowing that really the reason you're growing is so that you can actually hire the necessary people to create a real organization that can live and breathe on its own. And we never scale just to scale. We don't buy properties for bragging rights. That's never been our MO. We buy properties that make sense, but with the long-term objective that we're going to build a portfolio and a lasting organization that, that can not just help me achieve my goals or my business partner achieve his goals, but also everyone that works for us, help them achieve their goals as well by working and helping us grow this beautiful thing.
It's awesome. Through Mobile Home Park Academy, you've helped countless investors create passive income. What's one transformation story that really sticks with you?
Yeah. And so I just for full transparency, we did used to offer a training program. I created it back in 2016 called Mobile Home Park Academy. And we ran it for about 4 years. And there's still, I had a whole podcast associated with it. It's still out there called the Mobile Home Park Investing Podcast. However, we did stop offering training
Gotcha.
programs and educational things like that. Probably in 2019, we stopped doing it. And what we realized is that it's that in and of itself is its own business, and it's very difficult to be great at a bunch of different things, and something needed the attention more than that, and that was our investment business, growing the organization.
Yeah.
And so we stopped doing the Mobile Home Park Academy. Through the podcast, even a podcast I still host to this day, we've helped countless folks. Lots of stories of. In fact, I was just interviewed on a show yesterday. He's a colleague of mine. He has a fairly successful mobile home park investment business called Keel Investments. Andrew Keel is his name. And he interviewed me for his podcast yesterday. And Andrew, while he wasn't necessarily a direct student of mine through the Mobile Home Park Academy, I met him before he ever bought his first park at a conference. We talked many times. I shared with him different strategies on how he could go buy the first park, what he needed to do, how he needed to do it. And so there's countless folks out there, I think, that I've helped get into the industry and find success in it. But we no longer offer any type of formal training, though. Again, I've only got so much time in a day, so I figured I'd spend that time and energy continue to build the business.
Maybe one day you'll get back to it as a hobby.
Maybe, probably not. But
For
I'm
someone
always
brand
willing to help us. If people reach out to me ever, I'm always willing to help. I love seeing people succeed in the business. So that's what I left it at is like, hey, if you really have a passion for this and you want to get started, just reach out. And if you got a real question and I can support you, I surely will.
That's awesome, man. Thanks for that, by the way. For someone brand new to the commercial real estate world, what's your blueprint for getting started without falling into common traps?
Yeah, I think first and foremost is making the commitment to yourself to actually get started. There's not a silver bullet. This isn't magic. It's hard work, takes grit and determination, but anything does. And to be successful in anything, right? You've got to have a commitment and really the desire, the deep desire to actually to do it, to do something, to make a difference and to make some progress. And it's interesting. Back when I got started, I used to listen to like tapes, different trainings on tapes and CDs, and like there wasn't a lot of resources. There weren't like meetup groups every week that got together and talked about real estate investment. And so like you had to scratch and claw, go to the library, find a random book in the library about real estate investments and try to piece it all together. And funny enough, there's so much information today that's out there. It's actually an overwhelming amount of information of how to do something. And for someone to ever say that I don't know how to do that, the fact that YouTube is a resource, podcasts, there are tens of thousands of them, probably on the topic that you're trying to learn how to do. It just takes a time and commitment. That's really it, because the information is out there. You just got to be willing to do it. You can't say I don't know how, because that excuse doesn't fly anymore. 25 years ago, that probably did. But now, where there's a will, there's truly a way, and there's multiple ways to get there. So I think just making the commitment and digging into the resources, but then more importantly, I think surrounding yourself. If you can surround yourself on a more intimate level, whether it's like local meetup groups, investment clubs, masterminds, surround yourself on a more intimate level in person if possible with those that are actually doing it, not those that also want to do it like you, like they're just getting started like you, but find those that are maybe a couple steps ahead of you, and get to know them, find out how you can add value to them, ask good questions, and more than likely you'll have all the ingredients necessary to bake that pie and actually buy your first property, whether it's a single family home or a condo or a commercial property. It's all in the same, you got to take the same steps no matter what type of real estate you're going to get into. It's just you making a decision on which path that's going to be.
I totally agree with you. And it's a lot about pulling the trigger too once you're ready. A lot of people are on the sideline, just, I need to learn more. I need to know more. They're just studying, reading books, getting into all the podcasts. Years go by and they're still standing on the sideline and just not pulling that trigger to buy
Yeah.
that first property. Because you're never gonna learn unless you start doing it. That's what
Yeah.
I always say.
The one thing, my first mentor that got me into the business, David, who introduced me to real estate, one thing he was a really intelligent guy and he taught me a lot. One thing that always stuck with me, that and something that comes to mind anytime I'm doing something new or I get uncomfortable, whatever, whether it's like public speak, I don't know, whatever makes me uncomfortable nowadays, or even if it's like a tough, maybe I'm in a lawsuit on something, is to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like that general rule of thumb is applicable to every part of your life. And just as you go into this new endeavor, if you're just getting started, just know that there's going to be many more uncomfortable moments than comfortable moments because it's all new, right? You got
Yeah.
financial risk, you've got lots of uncertainty, you got a lot of unknowns around every corner, but just get comfortable knowing that there's an answer, and just put the next foot in front of the other, or put your one foot in front of the other, keep making necessary steps, and you'll find the answers. You will. You got to find calm and peace during those times of discomfort.
That's a great advice, guys. Listen up here. That's a golden nugget. Your work in real estate is super impressive, man. All those hundreds of millions of dollars of properties, but your community impact is equally powerful. Tell us about Running for Brews and the 72 hours to Key West. How did those projects come about?
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, a funny story, but both of those projects came about a year after I lost everything after the great financial crisis of 2008. And I was at a period in my life where I didn't have any money, I didn't have any capital. I had my health and I had my fitness, and that became very even more important to me. I was always in health and fitness, but that became really something that's about the only thing I could control. I could control how I felt and how I looked and how much energy I had. Nothing else in my life seemed to be within my control, and so I just really dove in head first into health and fitness. And I met who is now my wife at that time, and I met her. She was a big runner, and while I used to go to the gym, I was definitely not a runner, and she was a marathon runner. And so she got me in the running, and I fell in love with it, and probably because I really liked her. And then she forced me to go run with her often, and ultimately I grew a passion for running. And so just as a result of that, I was like, you know what, I want to start a running club, and I want to do it for the good of others around me. And I was always charitable, and I always would give to local charities, donate, things like that. But I'm like, I feel like there's something here. So I started a club called Running for Brews, where basically once a week we got together with other runners at a local brewery. And essentially there was a fee to be a part of it. And every dollar that we brought in from that organization, we gave to local charities and food banks and things like that. And we ended up taking that from one location to about 42 locations in about 4 years. And it did quite a bit of positive impact throughout numerous different states and markets. So it was really just a fun initiative that had a good intent and good purpose behind it that others grabbed a hold of, and it just scaled and just made a lot of positive impacts along the way. And then the charity bike ride, the same thing. A good friend of mine, Rod Cleef, he was one of my mentors way back when. He lives down here in Florida, and Rod is a very charitable individual and has a couple of his own organizations where he would feed families every holiday season. And I used to help him. He used to fund this. We'd give food baskets out with turkeys and all the fixings during Christmas and Thanksgiving. And when we lost everything, he lost everything as well. And so he could no longer fund this charity. And he used to fund it out of his own pocket. And so he never had donations or anything like that. And so I said, Rod, I feel so bad that we used to help thousands of people every year. This year, like 2009, I was like, we're not gonna be able to feed anybody. You're broke, I'm broke, we're all broke, right? We're just scrambling to get by. I was like, I don't have money, but I've got my legs. I was thinking about this bike ride. I want to do this pretty extreme bike ride. I'm gonna see if I can get some other people to do it with me, and we're gonna raise some funds. And so that was the idea. It was to get on my bike over a 3-day span, pedal 280 miles down through the Everglades, all the way down to Key West. And about 8 people joined me the first year. We raised just a measly amount of money, like $300. Second year, we raised, I don't know, $30,000. By the third year, we were selling out. We were raising $50,000, $60,000. And then now we're on our 15th year of doing this, and we've just made quite a positive impact. And so it just built it around a passion. I love cycling. I love fitness, and I like being around others that share similar passions of helping others and giving back. And so, again, I just turned two hobbies into something that ultimately could create a much bigger positive impact on the world. That's it. No, no special sauce there. Just, and the thing that drives me crazy when people say, and is like, when I make it, or I'm struggling now, but once I start making money, I'm going to start giving back. I want to support this charity or that charity. You don't even need money to support charities. You don't need money to do good in this world, right? You got two arms, two legs. Even if you don't have two arms and two legs, like you can still make a positive impact by volunteering. You don't, you just have to volunteer your time to make a positive impact. So to think that you have to donate money, I think is short-sighted. And so anyone that's out there having those same thoughts, know that where there's a will, there's a way, and just get out there. To your point, Lancelot, just take action.
Yeah.
Take action, and stuff starts happening. Believe it or not.
You're giving me goosebumps, by the way, just so you know. I have my own charity. I take care of orphans in Uganda. And my daughter, she's 6, and we just joined a Cub Scout group where I just did all the training. I'm an Eagle Scout myself. So charity is kind of in my blood in a way. And I'm like, I'll sign up for everything that they have so I can help. And then raising money for the troops so they can do better and do community service and et cetera, because that's one of the foundations of scouting is community service.
If I'm ever lost in the woods, I'm gonna think of you.
That's a good thing. Hopefully you'll have one of these new watches that iPhone makes and it will find your way back. There you go. You raised over $1 million for families in need. How do you balance the drive to build wealth with the drive to build a legacy? How do you balance that?
Yeah, that's a good question. For me, it's like wealth isn't about adding another zero to the balance sheet. It's for me, and maybe I'm just not a big enough thinker, but for me, it's just I want flexibility in my life, right? I want to be comfortable. I want my family to be comfortable. I want to know that when I'm gone, they're comfortable, and hopefully, I leave nothing but positive memories that they can share with others once I leave this earth. But again, it's not necessarily I don't. There's not a target dollar amount of what I feel will determine whether or not I'm wealthy.
Wealth is not always about money. And we talk about this on
not.
this podcast a lot of times that wealth is what wealth for you. Like, what is wealth for you? You know?
But I'd say more importantly, I think it's pretty cool. So, like, we in our organization, we've got somewhere just shy of about 1,000 investors that have invested money with us, some 100,000, some millions of dollars over the last 15 or so years. Many that have invested over and over again that have been with us for a very long time. A lot of those that they started investing with us because they were trying to make a difference in their lives. They were trying to leave a legacy for their family, right? They were trying to take a little bit of the money they made and reinvest it and help that compound and create a lifestyle of whatever their lifestyle, their dreams was. And so not only do I get to help my immediate family achieve what we define as wealth, but I also get to help thousands of others do the same thing through Sunrise Capital Investors, through our organization, through our investment activities. But as far as legacy, I don't know if I think it really like legacy to me is just knowing that I attempt to always do the right thing. I always attempt to have to leave a positive impact on anyone that I interact with, anyone I engage with. And if when I'm in the grave and my wife is giving my eulogy, that all she says is literally anyone Kevin ever interacted with, they loved him right from the start. I know he made a lot of impact on many different folks he's worked with over the years. He's helped them achieve their dreams and accomplish their desires and live the lifestyle of their dreams. That's all that matters to me. It really is. As long as I can help make other people happy, my family's happy. We have everything that we need. And I don't know how to balance that other than just, I think finding what you really enjoy doing. Like, surely there's really busy days and hectic days of what I do, but I know I enjoy what I do. I enjoy my business partner. He's awesome. I enjoy the staff. I enjoy all of our team members. We just got a killer organization. So I don't even know if it's about finding the balance. I think it's about finding the right people. And by finding the right people and growing the organization, the manner that we've done it, like by default creates balance.
It has good culture.
Balance. I've got balance now because we got a kick-ass team that gets shit done, and they understand our core values. That live and breathe by our core values. There's an alignment there, and we're all rowing in the same direction. So, given that, like, it creates balance by default.
That's awesome. That's a good explanation on that. If someone listening right now is intrigued by mobile home park investing but has zero experience, what's the very first step they should take in the next 30 days?
Yeah, go listen to, not to
I
brag on
guess
my podcast, but there's plenty of them out there. There's probably at least 3 or 4 podcasts that are just on mobile home parks now. Mine was the original one. I'll say that. I was the very first mobile home park podcast. But yeah, mobile home park investing podcast is one. That's the one I hosted. There's probably about 140 episodes up there. And they're all still very relevant. And there's multiple other podcasts as well with really good hosts and folks that have built successful mobile home park investment companies out of it. It's about that's all free, right? It's free. It's there. I'm sure that there's different meetup groups as well. There's different association events that happen on an annual basis within our industry, and there's no excuse not to get plugged in. Some of that's free, like the podcasts are free. The association events probably aren't free, but you'll meet a lot of people, rub elbows with others that are in the industry. And again, to your point, you just got to take action. Really, just take that necessary first step. And honestly, if go to ChatGPT and ask him or her for the plan. What should I do? I want to go buy my first mobile home park in 30 days. And I bet you he or she's going to spit out a much better plan than even I. They'll take what I just said and they'll compound that by 10x and probably give you the path that you really need to go.
that's a great answer, by the way. Use your resources, guys. That's what they're for. And reach out to people and reach out to podcasts and see if they can guide you in the right direction. What's the biggest myth about commercial real estate you'd like to bust right now?
Yeah, I think that it's harder to do bigger deals than a lot of people. I did too. I got started in buying single family homes. It's seemingly we all think it's just more manageable to buy $100,000 home than it is to buy $1 million apartment complex. But in all actuality, it's actually sometimes easier. In a lot of instances, I can argue that it's actually easier to buy an apartment complex because the loan types are very different. The qualifications for those loans are very different. It's income based. It's not necessarily based on your W-2 salary. And there's a lot of functions of buying commercial property that are different, but in a positive way than that of buying a smaller property. But I think a lot of us fall into that trap unless our first mentor guide us differently. But single family, smaller residential stuff, it's a good stepping stone, but don't ever limit yourself based on the dollar amount. Because again, back to the point of where there's a will, there's a way. There's plenty of loans. It's there's some very creative loans in the commercial world. But then even that, like it's you start going out to raise maybe capital from private investors, you'll find that it's actually easier to raise $100,000 and to raise like $10,000 or $20,000. Just a different type of person, different type of wealth that you're working with when you're looking to bring $100,000 from an individual, or even $1 million from an individual, than that of 10 or 20 or $30,000. So there's a book, I think it's called 10x is better than 2x. I think is what I'm probably butchering the title of it. It's a Dan Sullivan book that he wrote. I think that's what it's called. 10x is easier than 2x. It just really hits home that principle that bigger actually is quite a bit easier in a lot of instances.
I would love to have you on a podcast to elaborate on that a little bit, but today we don't have that much time. So,
Yeah.
looking ahead 5 to 10 years, how do you see mobile home park investing evolving?
The quality of the actual homes that are built now have evolved quite a bit even over the last decade. So I think the quality of the product is much higher. They're energy certified. There's a lot of regulatory standards around the building qualities of mobile homes now that didn't really exist 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And the quality of the product is really they're built with the same materials as stick built homes are built with. And so it's a great product. However, they are price per foot is significantly cheaper because they're built in volume in a climate controlled environment. So there's no delays by rain, or there's lots of automation in these factories now as well, to where you don't have folks calling off sick for work. So no matter what, they're kicking out 7, 8, 9, 10 homes every single day, whereas it takes 30 days for that same staff to build one home that's on site. As far as like the evolution, I think that's a big part of it. I think the quality is going to just continue increasing over time. And then I think one other big thing is that they're not really making new mobile home parks. They're making new mobile homes, but not new mobile home parks. But what's going to continually happen is that the demand for affordable housing is going to continually rise, right? The average median home price is going to continually rise. And so I think the demand for our product is going to continually rise because it is the cheapest housing option that exists. If you want to own your own home, it is by far the cheapest housing option that exists in any marketplace throughout the country.
Yeah, that's for sure. Even in Port Orange, we have quite a few of them. How come they're not designating more areas for them? What's going on with
Yeah,
that?
I know it's a sore subject. Every municipality in this entire country complains that we need more affordable housing. In the traditional sense of how stick built and site built homes are constructed and apartments are constructed, you just literally can't build it at this point with the cost of material and labor. You cannot build site built product to make it affordable. It doesn't exist unless you get subsidies from the government, tax credits and things of that nature. There's no way to actually build a market rate property and make it affordable. It doesn't exist. And everyone cries about it. All these counties cry that we need it. Mobile home parks are actually the solution. They really are. But unfortunately, there's two big reasons. Number one is, for whatever reason, we get lumped in a very bad bucket. There's some bad parks. There's some parks that are on the
Oh,
wrong
yeah.
side of the tracks that, for whatever reason, every single park gets lumped into that category, that it's got the wrong element, the wrong people. It's just the undesirable residents that live there. And we don't want that in our neighborhood. And that is just so far from the truth. So that's a part of it. They don't want it in their, really, it's NIMBY syndrome. They don't, not in my backyard. They don't want this in their backyard, even though they need affordable housing, because they think it's going to attract the wrong element. The second part of it is, it's not really all that advantageous from a tax basis for municipalities to approve mobile home parks. They take up a lot of land, and the tax base isn't all that significant. Their tax base would be significantly higher if they allowed a single family home development to be built there that isn't affordable, or an apartment complex to be built there, which also isn't affordable if it's market rate. It's greed on their part to a certain degree because it's not as good of a tax basis, but it surely would help solve the affordable housing crisis that every single county is dealing with. And so it's just people talking out both sides of their mouth. We want a solution. Here, you guys, here's the solution. No, that's not a good solution. We don't want that one.
There's a solution for it coming down the pipe, hopefully, by Mr. DeSantis or Governor DeSantis here, hopefully eliminating property taxes, because then it's not a question anymore about, oh, how much are we going to take in from a property like that? You get what I'm saying?
I haven't paid attention to his argument on that.
I really hope it goes through, by the way.
If the revenue leaves one area, it's got to come from somewhere else. And I just,
but
I haven't paid attention.
Go from 6.5 to 7.5, I think would solve the solution on your taxes. And you won't notice that big of a difference when you go shopping, because if you're buying vegetables, fruits, and meats like you and I, healthy people, do, which we should be buying, it's not going to affect us because that's not taxed anyways. So it's going to affect the person, the 2 million or 3 million or 4 million people coming to Disney and other places in Florida that are shopping tickets and items and stuff like that. Yes.
Is that the argument? The argument is just to move the sales tax up to 7%?
I don't think that's the argument, but that's what I would do, because that pretty much would balance it out.
Yeah, they got to get it somewhere else.
Yeah, you got to get it from somewhere else. Definitely.
You just can't cut off that revenue stream from one place.
No, but I talked to the mayor last year when he was an election year in our area, and he told me, look, the taxes that we get from the housing doesn't cover our school district. We don't get enough money in from that alone. We always have to get funding from the state, et cetera, et cetera. So why don't we do a solution? If you're already not making enough money to cover all your expenses from taxes on the house, why don't we do what? Remove those and raise up other things. We have the racetrack that brings in a ton of money, all this other stuff in our area that will, attractions in Florida are insane, that will bring in enough revenue to support those. And then guess what? You will actually own your house for once in the history since they started taxing houses. Thank you, Kevin. Kevin, this was amazing. You have shown us financial freedom isn't just about chasing returns. It's about seeing opportunity where others see roadblocks and building something that lasts. To dive deeper into Kevin's strategies, grab a copy of The Cash Flow Investor, check out the Real Estate Investing for Cash Flow podcast, and visit kevinbupp.com. And if today's episode gave you a new perspective on wealth, cash flow, and legacy, share it with a friend who needs to hear it. Until next time, keep learning, keep investing, and keep building the life you've always wanted. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us on Sir Lancelot's Real Estate Roundtable, where we've unveiled the mysteries of real estate together. Remember, in this kingdom of possibilities, every dream home is just a discussion away. I can help your real estate dreams come true. Just call me at 786-449-7518. Until our next roundtable, may your ventures be prosperous and your homes be filled with love and joy. Farewell, fellow knights of real estate.